Hello Marvel Legends, we're back again and it's a beautiful sunny summer day. I got a Floridora here which is delicious and it's story time. So, Onslaught. We've had the prologue, we've laid the groundwork, we've set the foundation. Now it's time to kick things off like big time, like it's on now. And this is such a massive mega story. I've got someone to join me. Yes, I have. It's Piggy. Hello, Piglet. She's going to join us for the Onslaught Saga, or at least the start of it, aren't you? Yeah. So, where were we? X-Men Onslaught. Bum, bum, bum. First and foremost, the clue is in the title. What character are we going to discuss? The big man himself. The BAF. The Onslaught. Look at this guy. Okay. First and foremost, yes, this is going to be story time. This is Marvel Legends, and I'm telling the legends of Marvel. Isn't that great how the name of the figure works out for like the concept of this story and video as well? So, I'm going to move him up here. Check out the Onslaught Build-A-Figure. Oof! This guy is good. He's good, but he's not great. He's not great. There are issues. There are provisos, some quid pro quos. He's a good figure. He's not a great figure. So you see, first and foremost, let's look at the sculpt. Sculpt, oof, 9 out of 10. Excellent. I am very happy with this. Onslaught is a detailed sculpt. You know, the character is like it's an armored look, so you need a lot of sharp, clean angles, and they can't just be sneaky little buggers and reuse like an absorbing man body or something. That wouldn't work. Although Onslaught is occasionally pictured like with a muscular frame as opposed to like an armored frame, but no, we like the armored frame with the sharp edges and what have you. And speaking of sharp, holy moly, like these claws, yeah, these are like proper cat scratch claws here. I know. Did that get you? Were you like, oh, was that a cat? So yeah, this is pretty cool. The sculpt, lovely. He's got his sort of like beetle shell cape sort of back armor piece as well, which is like, it's just like a flat bit of plastic. It's not that exciting, but again, it sets off the figure really, really nicely. Now, of course, I say this is the Onslaught Build-A-Figure, but technically this is the Red Onslaught. That's what it was called, wasn't it? The Red Onslaught Build-A-Figure. But I don't think anyone really has much affection for the Red Onslaught character. You know, he was in that Axis storyline. It was the Red Skull with Charles Xavier's brain, or part of it. I didn't read the whole thing because I was like, I love Onslaught as a character. It's just pure 90s nostalgia for me. But Red Skull, I'm like, nah, I don't really care for. Although he did have cool octopus sort of tentacles coming out of his back. That looked very, very Lovecraftian. That was pretty cool. But anyway, we've got classic Onslaught with the Onslaught head that came with Kitty Pryde, I believe. And yeah, so the sculpt is great. I really, really like this. They capture it perfectly, except for, in my opinion, I mentioned the head, not keen. Not keen. I feel like, you know, when Onslaught is drawn in the comics, I understand there's something you can kind of get away with in the comics, like he doesn't really have sort of a head shape. It's just blackness inside the helmet with two eyes, and you need something, you know, you need something physical inside there, but it does just look, it looks a bit weird. It looks a little bit too sort of clean cut as well, like there's like a black chin with the edge of the mask, or the edge of the helmet coming like right down. It looks a little bit odd. One thing that I really loved that I saw recently is there's a new Age of Apocalypse Magneto figure coming out, not Marvel Legends, not Hasbro Legends, might be a Mafex maybe, but either way, like they have this effect with like just the white eyes in the black, but it's not just flat black, they actually sculpt like nose and mouth, but it's all black and just the white eyes, and that looks really cool, and that would have worked out pretty well on this one. It's a shame that they didn't do that Also, the helmet itself, it's a classic sort of Magneto design, but I feel like what looks cooler and the way Onslaught is often depicted is sort of the helmet sort of comes out at the sides a little bit more, a bit like a Spartan helmet. If you see the movie 300 or read the comic book, the helmet kind of like comes forward like more of a point, and I just think it looks kind of cool, and it's not this sort of too smart and clean of a line. So I think that's how they could have improved the head. That being said though, it's still like, it's very, very well done and well represented. So excellent, excellent sculpt. Paint job, see, this is where we start to lose a few points, because really there's only 2 primary colors for Onslaught. And again, that's the character. That's absolutely fine. You know, the character is purple and red. What are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you what you could do. Shading. Because this is not shaded in any way. There's no tone. No, shut my mouth. Shut up, Dave. He does have a tiny bit of like shading. He's got these ridges inside of his thighs, which actually, like, I dig. Oh, hello, legs akimbo. Like, that's good, but it could be more. You know, it's always the same. I'm a Marvel Legends collector, so everything is like, oh, this is great, but I do want slightly more. So yeah, Onslaught, I love the figure, but some more shading. I've seen some custom work. I'm kind of like ducking between here. I've seen some custom work paint jobs that look, oh god, they look so gorgeous. People have really gone to town with doing like a metallic, because it's not metallic either. It's kind of a flat red and flat purple. So again, he's bold and he stands out, which is great, but more could have been done. There's a little bit of shading on the arms as well, so I give you a bit more credit for that, but it still feels a little bit flat to me. Articulation is pretty good. He can't move his arms up all that much because he's got these little shoulder pads here, which again, look cool. That's Onslaught. I'm fine with that. You know, I don't need to be able to move him about too much. He just needs to look cool posed. My only real gripe, like that I think like, oh, that's a shame, is that he's big, but he's not that big. Now Onslaught's a funny one because he does fluctuate in size depending on who's drawing him, what the occasion is, and because he's like generally like a sonic creation, like a telepathic, telekinetic like thing, like he can be big or small or whatever. But I always picture him as being like towering. Like you put him next to Cyclops and like, yeah, he's bigger than Cyclops, obviously, but I would imagine him being big, you know, like towering, looming, a lot more intimidating. So like, yeah, he's a big dude, and for a BAF, good BAF size. But you know, you think back to like what the old Toy Biz BAFs used to be like, the Sentinel, the big Apocalypse. Oof, yeah, that. An Onslaught like that, oh, that would be so sexy. But yeah, it being what it is, an average size BAF, average BAF size, it's fine, you know, because he does appear in this kind of scale, but I just, you know, bigger is better. But on the whole, Onslaught, yeah, you get 8 X-Men traitors out of 10. Because that was the big conclusion. That was the big reveal, was, you know, Bishop came back in time and he was like, someone betrayed the X-Men. More about Bishop later. So, where were we? We're like 8 minutes into this already. I haven't even touched on the story. But this is kind of a review as well, so it works. So, Onslaught has been revealed. But he hasn't really been revealed. Not yet. Because if you're wondering what I'm doing, like, Piglet is on my lap, and I'm not just stroking my thighs in excitement. It's like, oh, this story is so good. No, I'm stroking the puppy. Yes. So, oh, there you go. There she is. You're looking all adorable. What was I talking about? Onslaught. So, Jean Grey knows that Professor X is Onslaught, but she's the only one who knows. The other X-Men don't know. Oh, you're fascinated now, aren't you? So, the X-Men all come into Xavier's study, and he's sat there in classic sort of like Bond villain kind of pose, sort of, you know, mulling over his thoughts and his options as to what to do with the next step of his nefarious plan. And the X-Men all come in and they're like, hey, Professor X, what's up? The Juggernaut's been here. We can't find him. What's going on? And Jean is the only person in the group who knows the truth. And this makes for a really fun kind of Hitchcockian kind of scene where Jean knows, But she knows that Onslaught doesn't know that she knows. And she's like, I need to let the X-Men know that this is what's happening. But if I do, then we reveal our hand to Onslaught. And it's all, the only advantage we have is that he doesn't know that I know. So she's trying to sort of play it cool. And by this point, you know, Onslaught's out. He's made his move. He's already messed up Juggernaut. So he's like, this is happening now. So eventually Jean's sort of like, she's like, should I do anything? Maybe it's okay, actually. He's talking a little funny, but he's not totally crazy. He's not like caca for cuckoo puffs yet. And then she glances down at the paperweight, the paperweight on the table, and realizes, no. That's not a paperweight, that's the Crimson Gem of Sidorak, which means that Juggernaut, for all intents and purposes, is off the table. So as soon as she sees that, Onslaught realizes that, like, oh yeah, no, I know you know. I don't think you're clever. So yeah, he busts out and makes his big reveal. He's like, surprise! It's me! So yeah, now it's like Onslaught reveals himself to the X-Men, and they're all like, but what? It's like, yeah, didn't see that one coming, did you? So he sort of relays his general sort of thoughts and feelings about the human race to the X-Men, and none of it is too sort of revelatory. It's stuff that we hear all the time from a certain other character, Magneto. It's like, oh wait, so this is sounding very Magneto-ish. And then as soon as anyone points that out, Onslaught's like, I'm not Magneto. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. It's okay. This might not work as a format. So Onslaught does the typical sort of like, X-Men, are you going to join me? And they're like, nah, bub, we're not down with this. And there's a fun little scene where he's like, are you sure? Because I could totally just end all of you right now. And he does a few little like, really just bitchy things. Like, you know, he makes Wolverine think that he's like a frightened little puppy. He makes Iceman's molecules go all crazy. And he makes Storm think that she's, you know, an orphan trapped in, you know, claustrophobic, you know, thing again. And Cyclops is like, dick move, pal. Zap, boom, strikes Onslaught. And that's actually, you know, fair play to Cyclops here, because people always say he's like, oh, he's the Boy Scout, he's like the teacher's pet when it comes to the X-Men, but, you know, he has these great sort of hero moments where he's like, nah, not today, gloves are off. And he's like, sorry, Chuck, bam, shoots Onslaught. But of course, this is the first issue of the Onslaught Saga. This is not going to be the end. So Onslaught's like, okay, I'm done with you now. And he kind of locks them all, like freezes them to the floor and disappears, which is kind of funny. It's kind of, it just makes me think of Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they Frankenfurter pulls the lever and they're all like stuck to the floor. If you haven't seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show, you should do. It's fun. I mean, come on, everyone's seen that by now. Anyway, the X-Men eventually break out and they go to check on Charles Xavier's like personal private files. They don't know where Onslaught is. You know, it's like, how do you lose him? He's not a set of car keys. But anyway, they look at Xavier's you know, files and stuff, and they see two things pop up: Franklin Richards and Nate Gray, X-Man. And we see a little cutaway to the Baxter Building and the Fantastic Four, and we see them all sat around in their family bliss, and Franklin Richards is talking to an imaginary friend called Charlie, and Charlie's like trying to ingratiate himself with Franklin, and he gets all kind of, you know, pissy at something, and eventually, yeah, you realize, okay, Onslaught is trying to get to Franklin Richards, because Franklin Richards is ludicrously powerful. He's one of those mutants where it's like, what's his mutant power? Well, everything, which is something I don't like, and we happen a lot, and I'm going to complain about with Onslaught as well. It's like, what's your power? My power is to have all the powers. And he's like Cartman in South Park, where, you know, they do the World of Warcraft one. He's like, Bullrag has many powers. You know, he just makes them up as he goes. It's like, it's difficult to tell a good story when you can't, there's no parameters to define what the characters can and can't do. It's like, oh, you can just do everything. It's like, well, you're making life easier and harder for yourself. Anyway, I gotta slow down. I'm getting exhausted. Well, I gotta slow down and speed up, because we're like 3 pages into X-Men Onslaught. I'll get cut to the quick here. So, long story short, too late. Onslaught confronts the X-Men again, and he's like, look, you guys are either going to join me or not, or I'm going to mess you all up. And they don't, funnily enough, they don't agree to join him, and he does exactly that. He uses Cyclops' optic blasts to, he controls Cyclops, and Cyclops just takes everyone out, including himself. He makes him sort of fire the blast to himself, which is just kind of cool. Before doing so, though, actually, I forgot, he was like spying on the X-Men when they were looking at the different Xavier files, and Iceman is the only one to spot him because he's sonically shielding himself from the X-Men, but Iceman uses his powers to only look at body temperatures in the room, and he sees Onslaught's heat signature, and rumbles him basically. And I was like, oh, fair play, Iceman. That was pretty cool. Nice job. Anyway, Onslaught takes out the X-Men, but one X-Man he doesn't take out is Beast. And why? Because that's not the Beast. Oof, you know what? That's a whole topic for another review and another video. So you know what? I'm going to stop this one here, because that's a good little bit. Onslaught's revealed himself, he's taken out the X-Men, and he's kept the Beast on the board. Why? Let's find out next time.